course, one of your hosts, Rob DiLauro, and with me, as always, is Miss Diana Marie. Di, what's going on?
Hey guys, happy to be back.
And Sith Jade is back in her element. Sith, what's going on?
Yes, back in my home now. Much more comfortable. Hi.
So we had a bunch of big news last week. Of course, our episode dropped that was in honor of the Snyder Cut, and got pretty awesome reception from that. So thank you guys from the bottom of our heart. Especially the new audience at Comic Book Movie for the show. Because we are technically fish out of the water. So thank you again. And if you guys actually want to see that, you can get that on the Comic Book Movie YouTube channel right now as you speak. And please like and subscribe. So there's a bunch of news to talk about this week, as there usually is every week. Anybody that's not familiar to the format, the original format for the show is actually Top Jedi, which is actually where we talk about the news of the week that, doesn't necessarily have a lot to, talk about in regards to like actual conversation, but is exciting nonetheless. So we're going to start off with Top Jedi with Sith. Sith, what do you got?
Hello. So something that I'm super excited about is we are finally getting a Black Widow release date. It's going to be July 9th. That's going to be coming to Disney Plus. Unfortunately, we are going to have to pay the $30 fee to see it. It's going to be on premium, but I will be paying it, as I know a lot of people will, because we've been waiting for it so long. I think this is like the third or fourth time that they've pushed it back. So I'm just happy that we're actually getting it now.
Yeah, I'm going to be real honest with you. If I can sneak into a theater and have it be safe, I would love to see Black Widow in a theater of some capacity. But yeah, that's definitely exciting. And I believe there was a couple other announcements too for the premiere, like when they put out Raya and the Last Dragon and Mulan before that. But so it's going to be Black Widow. I think Cruella is also going to be.
Yep, coming up on there as well. Yep, that's also, it doesn't say if that one you're going to have to pay for it, but it says it will be premiering around the same time. May 28th actually is when that is releasing. So, yeah.
I don't know how you ladies feel about it, but I really feel like I've been waiting my entire life to see, this ship finally launch. Seeing Scarlett Johansson in her own feature film is just like, that's been something that we've been talking about. It feels like forever, and now we're finally doing it, and it's awesome. It's really, really awesome. Diana, what's going on in Top Jedi for you in terms of news?
So we finally got an update on Black Adam. Pierce Brosnan is confirmed to play Dr. Fate, and we're expecting that to drop on December 22nd of this year. Mm-hmm. But as far as the plot story goes, we don't really know a lot about what's going to be going on.
Yeah, and Dame Helen Mirren is going to be part of the new Shazam movie, right? Mm-hmm. And from what I'm gathering, it seems like the actual, I guess the mythology is there within the comics, but she's not necessarily representing a character that exists, which is interesting.
Yeah, so she's going to be playing Hespera, which is a demigod based on a group of nymphs. So this is a little reminiscent of actual Greek mythology. Hespera is actually known as the evening star. So I think that they're going to be playing some of those character elements into the film.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just like Cate Blanchett in the Marvel universe, it's awesome to see Dame Helen Mirren becoming a villain in a world of her own, which is cool. I think that's exciting. Well, in Top Jedi news for Marvel, there was a concept leak that was released earlier this week, and I guess it just kind of made the rounds today. So basically, if you guys haven't seen it, it is I've got my own opinion on this, which I will mention in a second. But there's a concept leak that basically gets sent to merchandisers and toy makers when they're getting ready to make products for upcoming feature films. Yep. So the concept leak included designs for in the Multiverse of Madness. I believe it was also there was a Ronin artwork on there. There was
very
also
excited about that
Marvel costume design, Hawkeye with Haley Steinfeld. It's just really fascinating, to see that, because I know people ate that up, and I'm sure there's somebody with like some bankers, whatever that thing is.
It's me. I'm someone. Me and my little cosplayer brain are like trying to see all the details, see how quickly I can get to it.
Yeah, and like I said, I do have my opinion on it, and honestly, I just think it's a huge flex from Marvel, especially after the pummeling that the Snyder Cut, gave them a little bit, because they just knew that fans are going to eat it up, and they are. And people are talking about it, ad nauseum when it comes to articles and stuff like that. Even though it's blurry and you can't see a thing really,
yeah.
It's still enough to get people, in a frenzy. So
yeah.
And of course, when it comes to Marvel news, the show that we're going to be talking about later on in the episode is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Falcon and the Winter Soldier actually had a bit of a record-breaking situation when it came to their premiere on Disney Plus. They actually had, if I'm not mistaken, they had a higher rating, audience rating when it came to viewing. I think it was more than WandaVision even, which, I mean, look, it's two different avenues. This is a 6-hour film that, is very action oriented. And, like, we love WandaVision here, but I can see how certain people would see that in the beginning, with the sitcom stuff and be like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think it really took a lot of coaxing for people to really just sit down and watch WandaVision.
Sit down and get into it. Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, congratulations to them. Sith, what else do you got in Top Jedi this week?
So something that I'm very excited about, Scott Pilgrim versus the World is going to get a new Dolby release. I don't know if they're going to be adding in any new stuff, but I do know that they amped up the visuals a little bit. They amped up the audio on it. Obviously, if it's going to be in Dolby, it's going to be bigger than life. And that's what you want with a movie like Scott Pilgrim, with how intense the visuals are. So that's going to be coming out. It's only going to be in specific theaters, so make sure you double check the list when they release it, because it's going to be only a select few that you're going to be able to see it.
Yeah, from what I was reading, Edgar Wright, for people that aren't familiar with Scott Pilgrim, this movie should have been 10 times bigger than it was when it came to the box office.
Oh yeah.
It did become this cult phenomenon, based off honestly a cult, comic book, like cult graphic novel.
Yeah.
But Edgar Wright, like is, just been basically curating this thing and really getting, the old sound mixers together, the old visual effects wizards that, worked on him with the film and stuff. So when you come to see Scott Pilgrim, like, it's going to be kind of the same experience that you would, see when you actually saw it for the first time 10 years ago, which is amazing.
Very nostalgic. Cool.
Yeah. Speaking of anniversaries, I do want to say happy anniversary, 5th anniversary to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and also the 10th anniversary for a film that you guys would be very, very excited about, Sucker Punch.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my top favorites for sure. Very slept on.
Diana, what else do you have in Top Jedi this week?
So the internet's boyfriend, Keanu Reeves, is going to be getting a Netflix distribution deal for his action comic called BRZRKR. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's based on this half god that is hired to perform dangerous missions for the government that most people can't really do themselves. And he's also struggling with his immortality. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to go, but so far we don't have a release date, but it looks like it's going to be very cool.
Well, it's a first look deal with a comic company that produced this comic with Keanu, called Boom Studios. And basically what it entails is, here's the interesting thing, because when Keanu decided to do this comic, like, he was working with Boom, and they were just, came up with this concept with him, and he was, they were basically like, we want your face to be the main guy. It's a no-brainer that something was actually going to come of that at some point. I mean, the comic literally came out like a month ago. You know what I mean? Like, it was literally right there in front of everybody. That Keanu is part of the comic. He's going to star in this thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Which is going to be a series or whatever the first look, is. And there's also going to be, I think there's an anime that's also going to be attached to it as well. So it's going to be a series or a feature, and then the anime, which will also have the same character, Berserker, pronounced Berserker, like BRZRKR.
BRZRKR.
Berserk fans out there. I'm excited for this. It's a great comic so far. I read the first issue, and it kind of reminds me of like like Greg Rucka's The Old Guard, which was a film starring Charlize Theron that came out last year and was one of the biggest hits for Netflix at the time.
Yeah,
like it was a huge hit for them. So this is just this is magic in a bottle. I can't see.
Discussed before, I think that this role is made for Keanu Reeves because, like what we've discussed, he can play any stone cold killer. Like he's a walking weapon. So I think that he's going to be amazing in this.
Which is so funny because he himself as a person is the sweet, soft, gentle, just people person. Yeah. So it's a complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Well, yeah, he's a very he's a very passive Buddhist, but he knows how to use those hands and feet, and knows how to fire a weapon, just from film. And I guarantee he could probably kill somebody in real life, no question about it.
Without
and like on a side note, personally, I am really amped to see Bob Odenkirk punch people in the teeth and do the same kind of John Wick stuff. It's just amazing to me that we have a movie where he's going to be doing that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's a like Keanu is also a middle-aged man, but it's just it's cool being a middle-aged man to see like we're getting some respect. That's cool. So another top Jedi news. This is actually a little disheartening, but first of all, just want to congratulate Zack Snyder. We just devoted an entire hour to the Snyder Cut last week, because we did love it so much in so many ways. If the Dark Side shirt is not a dead giveaway. But he had a really great premiere. Like he did really well in the numbers, and actually beat out Falcon the Winter Soldier when it comes to eyes on HBO Max. But it kind of got outshined by the premiere of Wonder Woman 84. Regardless of what people think of that movie, it dominated HBO Max at the time that it was released last year in December. So it couldn't quite like go over the hill of Wonder Woman. But hey, it's still Wonder Woman. So,
Yeah. I love it for what it is.
It still ties in. But, we do have to say, like farewell, unfortunately, to the Snyderverse. Because Warner executives are just not in a place where they want to continue working with Zack Snyder. And
it's been a big mistake.
It is really a big mistake. I actually was put a meme out there of General Zod from Man of Steel. You're a pack of fools, each and every one of you. They absolutely are being foolish. I mean, this is the golden goose that makes money. Not only did it premiere very well and it did very well with the audience, it did well with critics, and really kind of took this stigma of Justice League 2017 like completely out of the equation. And made people excited to see, what Zack had to offer down the road. Of course, with that nightmare conclusion and whatnot. We're unfortunately just going to have to live in a world where we're not going to get that unless somebody steps up, and who knows if that'll ever be. I would take a DC animated movie. I would take a comic book, line with the story that he wants.
Something at least.
Anything. Just so the characters, have the images of the people that you're passionate about. Like the characters look like Ray Fisher, they look like Ben Affleck or whatever. I don't care what format we get it in.
Yeah.
At this point. And he also had a really great tie-in story. And interestingly enough, I didn't even know this for years. I thought it was actually Jason Todd because we had mentioned that on the show last week. But the actual Robin that was murdered in the Snyderverse was Dick Grayson. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a little wrench thrown in there. Okay.
Well, it brings a little more levity to it, I think, when it comes to their relationship and just, like in popular culture, Batman 66, all the way to, like that's a huge, hit for Bruce Wayne. So that would make sense. There's just so much story within the Snyderverse that we're not going to see. Joe Manganiello just, mentioned, what the Deathstroke storyline would have been like if Ben Affleck had actually directed and starred in it. It's really, really disheartening. It's really disheartening.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that they want to go their own direction with it. Maybe, they already had an idea in mind, but it's kind of like it's one of those things. Why wouldn't you just go with the flow? You know, if you see something that's doing so well, that's so successful, that fans are just eating it up at this level, I just run with it.
Well, I think there's a couple reasons. I think one of the main reasons being, the fact that, money is a factor, obviously. Like just to do all the, the post-production editing and, adding all the special effects and all that, they had to give Zack Snyder like $70 million to, polish it up. So if you're going to have like a 4-hour epic for, every single one of these films that he wants to do, that's a huge chunk of change. And, considering, if you're looking at the actual financial ceiling right now, especially like, with streaming kind of being king and, people not really attending, theaters and stuff like that, it really would be, it would be a Herculean task, I think, to, to get that kind of thing off the ground. I'm so happy that, we live in a world where the Snyder Cut exists.
Does exist. Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of people like to say that, we got it through bullying. And I don't believe that for a second. I don't think it was given to us through bullying. I think it was
got it through persistence. It's not bullying, it's persistence.
and honestly, if anybody, like I'm not saying, I'm not, pinpointing like a certain group or whatever, because I am part of the Snyderverse group, but like even people that have maybe never been ambitious about anything in their lives, they can be happy about this one thing. If they put a hashtag out there and and got this done, kudos to you. You did something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You moved a mountain as a fan, which is huge. You should be proud of that. And if that's all we're gonna get, then
at least it was amazing.
We'll just see what happens with Army of the Dead when it happens.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too, for sure.
I think so. I wasn't too jazzed about the first trailer, and I had mentioned that in our last episode, but I am really super stoked about that. To see something, original, that doesn't necessarily have to tie in with, you don't have to like, compare and contrast or anything, when it comes to characterization and whatnot. It's just kind of like, Zach's like, having fun and, it's about guns and zombies and things. So that's our top Jedi for the week. And if you guys aren't familiar with the format, which I'm sure a lot of you aren't, then we go to focus on something that's a little more hot button, like a conversation we actually talk about that's not just a, like a casting or, some sort of like comic book news or whatever. So we wanted to focus on something that a lot of people were talking about aside from the Snyder Cut, which is, of course, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. When I saw it, my whole thing was, it was great to see the characterization that we got for them and their journey and where they went through. I thought that the fact that that these two have been dusted out of existence for 5 years, and that that Sam, like who stuck through thick and thin when it came to Captain America, became a war criminal for the guy. And, became a full-fledged Avenger and can't even get a loan on a boat. That
made me so sad.
To keep his family's legacy, going or whatever. So I do kind of like that juxtaposition of being a superhero. I don't know. I hope this, it just kind of felt like Sam, when he was actually at the bank, he, he was kind of having to dance for the man. And when it comes to like the characterization of of Black society, like obviously there's still a ton of struggle there that a white person couldn't even remotely understand. And so he's on the dividing line of being a hero and being well known for for his exploits, but also being being a person of color. And I think that is probably the most fascinating thing out of Falcon and the Winter Soldier for me personally.
Absolutely.
The fact that they were able to say to themselves, in that writer's room that like, yes, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about race, and we're going to talk about things that are, that are obviously, very important, within the zeitgeist of where we're at right now in, our own existence. I think that's brilliant. And the rest of the stuff, all the whiz bang and stuff, of course, that's going to be exciting. But I think, just the fact that they're being, very mature about this content and, taking something like a guy who flies around like a bird, for the government, and making it something that's like a little more, solid and, like, linear when it comes to, like, experience that certain people have, I think that's cool. I think it's really cool. What were your thoughts when you saw the premiere episode for Falcon?
I think that's going to be a slow build up, kind of like WandaVision. I wasn't too excited watching the first episode, but they introduced a lot of different storylines that we're going to delve into that I think is going to build into a really good climax, just like what we had with WandaVision.
Yeah.
Like with the Black Smashers, I'm really interested to see where we're going to go with that. We haven't seen Zumo yet, so it'll be cool to see when he's introduced. And I do like seeing that Sam is introduced as more of a regular human like us and having to deal with the struggles, but also people knowing that he's an Avenger, but he still has to deal with that. So.
Well, the thing is, Sam is, he is a flesh and blood human being, and like he's been given the very sobering task of taking over this shield that represents everything, red, white, and blue, all of that stuff. And like not only just from the standpoint of like just taking over the mantle of a friend who carried that so well. I think it's also going to play into the idea of, well, this country doesn't necessarily represent me in certain ways. So why would I feel comfortable, like carrying this shield high, like to represent the people that don't necessarily represent me? It's fascinating. And honestly, that's honestly the brick and marble foundation of what Marvel was when Stan Lee and all those older, gentlemen that, have become legendary, when they were working on those books, like the X-Men was about race in the 60s. You know what I mean? They played on all this different stuff, like introducing Black Panther into the pantheon of comics was mind blowing at the time.
Yeah.
So it's really taking on a life of, not only, like I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to say it's just, woke, bullshit or whatever, but I don't agree. I absolutely don't agree. I think it's important to get that within your entertainment. I know some people just want to, like chill and veg out or whatever, but if you can actually get a message, I mean, where's the problem? I don't see it. I think it's a message a lot of people need to hear anyway.
Yeah, I would say it
aren't speaking loud enough.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of that just in this first episode. That when he went to hand off the shield, that was the thing that got me the most. When he went to hand off the shield and he was like, "You made the right choice, son." It hit me in so many different ways, because he could have meant it as, you cannot fill the shoes of Captain America, and not even necessarily meant it in a race way. Just you who are you? You're the Falcon. You are one of the lower tier Avengers. You cannot match up to this gigantic icon that technically represents our country. Or they could have meant it in a darker way and been referring to his race, and that, we don't want that representation for our country. So it was
well, I mean, look what they did with it. Look what they did with it, though. They gave it to, they gave it to a white man. They gave it to John Walker, who, by all intents and purposes, like in the comics, is, it's kind of like a boy situation where he loves the spotlight and he loves people thinking he's a hero. And they even set up like little fights and stuff. So like he, can get a little punchy in, and people will think like, oh, this is this is our guiding light, when it comes to representation of this country or whatever. It's all smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean? Yep. If you actually looked when he was walking out, he had a sidearm along with the shield. So he has no problem pulling the trigger and killing people. Marvel kind of outshines DC a little bit when it comes to that. Taking these fictional characters and bringing some sort of I don't even want to say that you're not getting emotional levity from Batman and Flash and all that stuff. I just think they shied away from the issues for the most part. They're just trying to tell an entertaining story. You know what I mean? Where Marvel, I think, lay stuff on the line, when it comes to things that they want you to think about if you're actually thinking about them. They don't necessarily it's not all thrown in your face, but it is there. You know, it is there for the picking if you actually want to, you know, look into the context of it. And I don't know if they're ever going to blatantly say, you know, this is what we're doing. I heard the writer say, like in the featurette that came out just recently, that's exactly what we're doing. We're playing it into race. That's exactly what we're doing, 100%. You know, so, you know, like I said, you know, if they ever get to a point where, you know, Sam like openly starts, you know, looking at the history of Captain America and looking at the history of there's actually a character that was given the super serum around the same time that Steve Rogers was. And he was a person of color. And, you know, kind of more like he was more like a Tuskegee experiment that the government kind of like, oh, okay, well, the serum works, obviously, but they kind of brushed him aside.
Yeah,
like,
just
we don't need, you know, we don't need that kind of publicity. We don't need you representing us. You know what I mean? You're not the person to hold this or whatever. So I think, you know, once Sam sees all that, it's going to be a Herculean feat to want to carry on the mantle of your best friend, because there's so much to it. You know what I mean? It's not just a shield. It represents everything and everyone, and maybe not, you know, maybe you're not necessarily like part of that status quo that, you know, that shield represents. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So
that's our show, guys. You know, please like and subscribe on the Comic Book Movie YouTube channel. Check out our tribute to the Snyder Cut. I think you guys will enjoy that, especially if you're, you know, fans of the Snyderverse. And we'll be back next week with more Pop Jedi. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.